My first love as far as ships in EVE Online was the Vexor class cruiser. As a noob transitioning from destroyers to this cruiser had a real feel to it. The extra inertia, the heavier weapons, it felt like a bigger ship but not too big. My second love was the Tech 2 version of this ship, the upgraded heavy assault cruiser or Ishtar, probably the best combat drone boat in the game. My third love had to court my attention a little bit over time. You see, for over a year, the EVE universe has been under assault by a mysterious new faction, an ancient and mysterious force called the Triglavian Collective, also called Triglavians, or just Trigs for short. The players of EVE, who are the immortal Capsuleers, were able to acquire a number of the blueprints for the Triglavian ships, which are mostly found in the mysterious abyssal space where the Triglavians invade from. In our PvP roaming games, we would frequently encounter players piloting these Kikimoras. At the time, I didn't see the advantage of using such an expensive and rare ship. However, our frigates were often murdered by these weird destroyers before we could get anywhere close enough to do any damage. When I finally got a Kikimora of my own, a mere test drive made me fall hopelessly in love with this ship. Let's go over the design, the lore, the strengths, and the weaknesses of the Kikimora, the Triglavian destroyer. First, the basics. The Kikimora is about 218 meters long. This puts it at 70 meters less than the original Enterprise, but about 70 meters longer than the Corellian corvette. Like all Triglavian ships, it's powered by a singularity at the heart of the ship. As you can see, multiples of 3 are used throughout the ship's design, just like all Triglavian ships. This ship has loads of personality. It has a tri-hull configuration, 3 weapons hardpoints, and thrusters in multiples of 3. Its appearance is reminiscent of some kind of predatory insect. This ship is also virtually a transformer. It changes shape when entering or exiting a warp. It also makes subtle transformations in combat, as if angling the hull parts to achieve optimal firing arcs or optimal thrust vectors to aid in maneuvers. Okay, so now onto the Triglavian lore and origins of this ship. Triglavians are all about Slavic mythology, as if their ancestors were some kind of Slavic cult. In Slavic mythology, a Kikimora is a female house spirit that inhabits the area behind the stove or the cellar. Like all Moras in Slavic mythology, she's a dream spirit. She can be good or a bad presence in the house. The ship is built by the Svarog clade of the Triglavian Collective, one of the 3 major groups. Svarogs are the most aggressive of the 3. Here is the actual description of the Kikimora by the cryptic Triglavians themselves.
Kikimora, subclade of Svarog clade, revised adaptation schema for clade ship of the 9 tactical troika classification.
Has been accepted for imprinting in advancing time generations after reverse time reclamation, following audience communion with reverse time proving from ancient Numa.
Proving anew.
See, typical Triglavian cryptic speak. Alright, let's get on to the strengths. Like all Triglavian ships, the Kikimora is armed with entropic disintegrators. This is a weapon that acts differently than most others in EVE. Unlike other weapons, there is no optimal hitting or damage range. The damage doesn't fall off over range. It's either applying all the damage or it isn't. So if the target is 1 kilometers out, it may apply 300 damage, and if it's 30 kilometers out, it will still apply that 300 damage. If it is beyond the maximum range of the weapon, the turret simply shuts off and will not fire. Disintegrators also ramp up their damage the longer they're able to fire at the target over time. This means the damage output can reach scary levels over time until the top damage cap is reached. This maximum damage depends on the trained pilot's skills for the weapon and the ship type. All disintegrators inflict thermal and explosive damage types, a unique combination. Now, as you can see, the Kikimora gets bonuses to light disintegrator damage and range. This means that the ship can project all of its damage over a relatively long range. These ships have a lot of engagement room on the battlefield. They also have a 50% reduced capacitor need for neutralizers, remote armor repairers, and smart bombs. This means it doesn't take as much energy to activate these modules as it normally would. Energy neutralizers will drain the capacitor of other ships and could eventually shut down their weapons, propulsion modules, and repair modules. The remote armor repairer allows you to remotely repair a wingmate's ship, and the oddly named smart bomb emits a blast around the ship and will damage anything near it. This is especially useful against lightly tanked ships or combat drones. It also has a range bonus for the remote armor repairer. Clearly, this ship is meant to work well with other ships that are armor tanked. Although they do seem to be designed to work in groups, its other bonuses make it a popular standalone ship as well. Other than the obvious bonuses, Kikimoras can be extremely fast when fit with a micro warp drive. They're able to keep up with most frigates. This makes the ship great for staying out of danger while projecting its substantial damage from a distance. Since the ship's damage ramps up over time, I find that these are excellent at attacking larger ships or objects, especially those without the speed to catch the Kikimora. An inexperienced cruiser, battlecruiser, or even battleship pilot will often be clueless in how to deal with this ship. As it can stay out of range of a lot of guns, outruns a lot of drones, while raining down deadly death rays using entropic disintegrators, the damage ramps up and soon the target will be destroyed. This ship is not without some weaknesses though. It has relatively low effective hit points. I often like to compare the Kikimora to the Amar Retribution assault frigate configured for speed and armed with beam lasers. Although a beam retribution cannot project half the damage of a Kikimora, and far less when disintegrators are fully spooled up. A beam retribution can outrun and outmaneuver a Kikimora. It has more hit points, even without the special assault damage control module, and it's a fraction of the cost. Which is another weakness. Due to the relative rarity of Triglavian ships, they are pretty expensive. These ships are about 3 times more expensive than an assault frigate or even some pirate frigates. I say 3 times because you have to consider the weapons and modules normally needed to fit these ships, which are also expensive compared to conventional ones. The Kiki is also very vulnerable to smaller, faster ships that are able to close in on it. The tracking on the small disintegrator, while not terrible, is not great either, and you have to pilot smart to keep it on the target. Letting small, fast brawler ships come in close will get the Kiki into trouble. Also, there is a psychological element that kind of works both ways. Flying a Kiki makes you feel supremely confident, but even overconfident. In my case, I'm so high on flying this ship, I attack in spite of my better judgment. However, there is nothing that can do what a Kikimora does, and that is to project high amounts of disintegrator damage over distance. Other ships working with it greatly improves its effectiveness. When in a small group of other ships, I prefer to come in with my Kikimora just a bit late. This means the enemy is already focused on another, perhaps more tanky but less dangerous ship, which gives the Kikimora a chance to project its deadly damage. Well, thank you for watching, Space Friends. Be sure to check out my other EVE Online videos. Subscribe, like, comment, as I love reading your comments. And by the way, there's a Resurrected Starships website under construction where I will package all of this content so that it can be easily consumed. Until next time, Space Friends, 3 weapons hardpoints, and thrusters and multiples thrusters in multiples of 3 of some kind of predatory retake. As it can stay out of the range of a lot of guns, it can outrun a lot of retake, which gives the Kiki a chance to project its deadly retake. Subscribe, like, comment, please, retake into a nice and neat consumable retake. And by the way, a Resurrected Starships website is under construction. Retake. And by the way, a Resurrected Starships website is under construction that will package all this content into a nice consumable Retake.